You know it's bad when funky Dineva looks straight into the camera and basically says, "I'm not scared of your lawyers." That's exactly what just happened, and now the internet is spiraling. In a new explosive rant, Funky is calling out Tamar Braxton and throwing some heavy side-eye at Mendeecees, with Yandy's name getting dragged right into the middle of the storm. According to what's being whispered online, this isn't just about a mystery accident, missing teeth, and a night Tamar says she barely remembers. The real shock, fans say, is Funky hinting that the vibes between Tamar and Mendeecees were way past friendly, and that what happened next might not match the story we've all been hearing. Viewers are replaying every clip, every interview, every "we're just cool" comment, and asking, hold on, were we being played this whole time? Tonight, we're not claiming any of this is proven fact. We're breaking down the claims, the timelines, the so-called receipts, and why Yandy supporters are furious that her husband's name is even in this conversation. Buckle up, because if what Funky is suggesting is even half true, this could be one of the wildest reality-adjacent scandals we've seen in a long time. From the outside looking in, it all started like a tragic, confusing celebrity mystery. A singer says she went out to celebrate a friend's birthday, came home like any normal night, and then woke up in a pool of blood with teeth missing and no clear memory of what happened. She goes public, tells fans she almost died, mentions surgery, hints at a terrifying incident she still can't fully explain. People online rush to send love, prayers, and support. But under that wave of sympathy, another question starts bubbling up in the comment sections and group chats. If she doesn't remember, who does? Very quickly, fingers began pointing at the person everyone knew had been with her that night. Viewers had seen the party clips, the social media posts, the playful on-camera moments. So when her vague story went viral, some fans jumped straight to the conclusion that the friend who had just celebrated with her must have been involved. His mentions filled up with angry messages, accusations, and think pieces from people who didn't even know the full timeline. Overnight, he went from being seen as the funny commentator to the alleged villain in somebody else's story, all off implication, not proof. At first, he tried to keep things light. He joked around a bit, answered questions on his live show without giving too much away, and kept repeating one simple line: he did not know what happened in that house after he left. He said he was not there when she was injured, he did not see any fall, fight, or accident. But the more he tried to distance himself, the more some people doubled down. They asked why she would say she almost died and then go quiet when it came to defending him. If he truly had nothing to do with it, why wasn't she loudly clearing his name? That silence is really where the tension began. According to the way he tells it, he reached out privately and asked her to correct the narrative, to go back to her audience and say directly that he did not touch her, did not harm her, and did not witness the incident. In his words, all he wanted was one short clarification so people would stop attacking him for something he insists he did not do. But instead of shutting down the speculation, she kept telling her side in a way that left plenty of space for people to fill in the blanks however they wanted. The breaking point came when she sat down for a radio interview and revisited the night all over again. In that conversation, she repeated that she was not fully aware of what happened to her, that she had gone to a friend's celebration, come home as usual, and then everything went dark. The host pressed her a little about who was around her that evening, who she trusted, who she considered close. When the name of another reality star's husband came up, she brushed it off and said she barely knew him, that they were cool but not close, that it wasn't anything like how the internet was trying to paint it. That clip spread like wildfire. People who follow all of these personalities already knew there had been whispers linking her to that married man. They had seen rumors about a music video shoot, public outings, and matching appearances. So when she looked into the mic and downplayed the connection, a lot of viewers side-eyed their phones. In the comments under the interview, you could see two camps forming. One group said she had every right to protect her privacy. The other said the story just wasn't lining up with what they had been hearing and seeing for months. And that is when the commentator finally snapped on camera. He went live with that familiar, calm but fed up energy, the kind of tone that tells you a person has been holding back for a while and is now done tiptoeing. He reminded everyone that he has faced legal threats before, that letters on nice paper don't scare him, and that he is not a rookie at this game. Then he shifted the focus away from vague sympathy posts and onto the part of the puzzle that made him uncomfortable from the very beginning: the way she and that husband were allegedly behaving around each other in public. According to his version, the issue didn't just start on the night of the injury. He says he had spent time around them before and never liked the energy he saw. He describes being at a fancy restaurant, sitting across the table while they leaned in close, laughing a little too hard, with hands wandering where they probably shouldn't be if everything was strictly friendly. He talks about a video shoot where she was in tiny shorts, perched on his lap for a scene, not just once, but in a way that felt extra intimate, like there was a comfort level that went beyond coworkers or casual collaborators. He says that every time their group met up, that man somehow ended up there, and it stopped feeling like a coincidence. When he uses the phrase inappropriate relationship, he is not pretending to be a judge or a lawyer. He is simply describing how it looked to him in real time, and why it bothered him so much to later watch her publicly act as if she barely knew the guy. And once he put those details into words, the debate exploded online. Some people accused him of exaggerating for clicks, while others said his description matched the gossip they had been hearing behind the scenes for months. Fans of the wife were furious that her household was now part of this messy situation, while supporters of the singer insisted that her private life should not be dissected by strangers. Through all of this, one thing remains the same. Nobody on the outside truly knows what went on in that house when the night was over. We only have a woman saying she woke up badly hurt, a commentator saying he left before anything happened, and his insistence that if anyone has answers about the injury, it would be the people who actually went upstairs with her. That clash between her vague storytelling and his detailed memory of their public closeness is what has the audience glued to their screens, trying to decide who feels more believable and what it really means when someone calls a situation inappropriate but insists they are not making accusations of a crime. That word choice became a new battleground on social media. Some people pointed out that calling something inappropriate without flat-out accusing anyone of a specific act leaves everything hanging in the air. It sounds damning, but it is still technically vague. Others argued that he was careful on purpose, that he wanted to explain why he felt uneasy without stepping into territory that could be twisted into a legal problem. No matter which side people chose, one thing was very clear. The online conversation had shifted away from a mysterious accident and moved straight into the messy territory of emotional boundaries, secret chemistry, and complicated marriages. In the middle of all this, supporters of the wife started making their voices heard. They flooded comment sections with messages like, "She doesn't deserve this," and "Why is her home being dragged into somebody else's drama?" For them, the biggest issue was not just a suggestion that her partner might have stepped over a line, but the idea that the whole world was now replaying old clips and photos, trying to decode his body language with another woman. Old footage of them at events, sitting close on couches, laughing a little too long, or walking through a venue together suddenly felt like evidence to people who wanted to believe the worst. Fan pages began posting side-by-side screenshots. On one side, you had the singer saying she barely knew the man, just casual industry contact. On the other side, you had shots from a music set where she was in tiny shorts, straddling him for a playful scene, hair falling around his face as the camera zoomed in. People commented things like, "This is not what barely knowing someone looks like," and "Whatever this is, it's more than just cool colleagues." Of course, people close to both sides argued that entertainment shoots often look way more intimate than they actually are, and that chemistry on camera doesn't always equal romance in real life. Still, the commentator's detailed memory of their dinners together kept echoing. He described being at a popular steakhouse with them, sitting across the table, while that husband casually rubbed his hand between her knees underneath the tablecloth. He recalled her giggling, saying she couldn't, while still allowing the touch. He remembered asking out loud if the man was even single, only to be told that the relationship at home was not what it seemed on television. Hearing those details made a lot of people shift in their seats. Whether they believed him or not, it forced fans to think about how different the private story can be from the picture painted on reality shows and red carpets. At the same time, there were plenty of voices calling for calm. Some people reminded everyone that none of us were actually there, that this is all one person's description of events, filtered through emotion and frustration. Others pointed out that the singer herself has a long history of dramatic storytelling, switching narratives, and turning personal chaos into public spectacle. For them, this was just another chapter in a pattern of messy fallouts, reconciliations, and cryptic posts that never quite tell the full story. They said that if anyone should be questioned, it is the way she frames her pain to pull in the audience while leaving other people to deal with the fallout. The more she tried to stand firm on her statement, the louder his warnings became. He reminded his viewers that he had asked her more than once to simply go back online and say the one line that would have ended all of this, that he did not harm her or witness anything. He said she refused, or at least stalled, choosing instead to ride the wave of mystery and sympathy. For some fans, that was the real betrayal. They felt like she was willing to let a supposed friend be dragged just so the story around her stayed big and emotional. Then came the part that really made the internet gasp. During one of his long broadcasts, he laid out his version of how the evening ended. He said that after the party, they were all in the same car, the singer and the husband practically glued together in the back seat. He described her sitting on his lap, legs draped over him, the two of them kissing while the ride wound through the city toward her home. He said that by the time they reached her place, he got the distinct impression that his presence was no longer required, that they wanted privacy, that whatever was happening between them did not include him. So, in his words, when the car pulled up to her building, he stayed downstairs. He claimed that she went upstairs with the husband and another male friend, the same person she later said found her when she was hurt. He says he got into his own vehicle and went home alone, leaving them together in her space. And that's the moment that changed everything for him. Because while the internet was busy calling him a monster and assuming he had something to do with her injuries, he says he was at his own place, completely unaware that anything had even gone wrong until much later. He did not stop there. He went as far as suggesting that if her mouth was damaged in such a serious way, if there was so much blood and broken teeth involved, then the people who should be questioned are the same two men who went upstairs with her once the car ride ended. He hinted that something may have gone very wrong during whatever they were doing, whether that was playful, intimate, or something else entirely. He even used crude humor to paint a picture of rough physical activity that might have ended with her head hitting a surface. It was shocking, uncomfortable, and yet, to some, brutally honest in how he laid it out. Audiences were split again. Some said he crossed a line by making those kinds of suggestions publicly, even if he insisted he was only connecting dots. Others argued that he had been pushed into a corner. In their view, once his name was indirectly tied to the accident and her silence let that narrative spread, he had every right to protect himself by describing what he saw before he left. They stressed that he repeatedly said he did not know exactly what happened afterward, only that he did not follow them upstairs because their body language told him he was no longer needed there. Meanwhile, people started paying attention to how the singer worded her own responses as the situation heated up. In a written statement, she did not name him directly, but she talked about rumors that had caused pain for her and the families involved. She spoke about how hurtful it was to see her name linked to certain stories, and said that if this continued, someone would have to be held responsible. She hinted at legal action, stressing that she was not going to allow people to keep using her pain as content. To some, this sounded like a warning shot aimed straight at him. But if that statement was meant to scare him, it didn't seem to work. He went live again and laughed at the idea that a carefully worded paragraph on nice letterhead was going to shut him down.
He said he had been in court plenty of times, had faced lawsuits from companies and public figures, and was still here. In his eyes, the threat only proved that she had more to hide. He even suggested that if things ever did reach a courtroom, it would finally give him a stage to lay out everything he knows from start to finish with receipts, messages, and witnesses. Through all of this, the wife's name kept getting dragged into the conversation whether she liked it or not. Fans of hers were heartbroken at the thought that while she was building her brand, raising kids, and appearing on shows as a strong partner, outsiders are now imagining her home life as a web of secrets and side conversations. Some of her supporters went as far as saying she should distance herself publicly, issue her own statement, or at least unfollow certain people to send a quiet message. Others felt she might already be dealing with private hurt and confusion, and that the last thing she needed was the world dissecting her marriage on top of it. What makes this whole situation even more chaotic is how many people now feel like they were used. Fans who celebrated the music collaboration, reposted behind-the-scenes clips, and supported the single feel like they were unknowingly cheering for something that may have been more personal than anyone admitted at the time. People who watched the interviewer ask about the husband and heard the singer say she barely knew him now feel like that answer was.
And in the middle of this storm, the image of that car ride with her sitting on his lap and kissing him on the way home keeps replaying in people's minds every time his name is mentioned. By the time the dust began to settle even a little, the story was no longer just about one night and one injury. It had turned into a bigger question about loyalty, honesty, and the way public figures manage their relationships when there are cameras, contracts, and reputations on the line. Viewers are left asking themselves whether this is a case of a commentator going too far or a case of him finally refusing to carry someone else's secret when it was costing him his peace and his name. As the days went by, more layers of the story started to peel back, not because anyone sat down and calmly explained things, but because little pieces kept slipping out in side comments, lives, and half-shaded posts. One moment, the singer would be emotional on stage, thanking her supporters for standing by her during a scary health scare. The next moment, the commentator would be online, reminding everyone that there is a difference between sharing pain and dragging innocent people into a mystery on purpose. Every time one of them spoke, it felt like the entire internet leaned in a little closer. Friends and associates began quietly choosing sides without saying it outright. Some of her industry buddies liked posts defending her and subtly echoing her message about false stories and people using her situation for content. Others tapped the heart under clips from the commentator, leaving comments about how he has always been straightforward, how he may be messy but usually knows what he is talking about. It was like watching a digital version of a friend circle divide, except this time, millions of strangers were also weighing in, typing essays beneath every clip, trying to solve a puzzle none of them actually witnessed. For the singer, the emotional toll seemed to show up in small ways. She would crack jokes one minute, then look like she was fighting back tears the next. She talked about how hard it was to see her name in harsh headlines, how tired she was of being painted as the villain or the fool, depending on the day. She hinted that some people she thought were in her corner had switched up, that there were folks out there pretending to care while secretly feeding off her pain. Her most devoted supporters rushed to comfort her, sending long messages about healing, boundaries, and protecting her peace. At the same time, the commentator's audience saw someone who looked more irritated than hurt. He came across as a person who had been pushed one step too far and decided that if everyone was going to drag his name through the mud, he might as well tell what he knows. He pointed out that he did not run to the internet first, that he actually stayed quiet for a long time while strangers accused him of doing something awful. According to him, the moment she used the interview chair to reopen the story without clearing him, she made her choice, and he responded in the only way he knew how, with blunt commentary.
That is where the whispers of a deeper plan started. Some viewers began to wonder if she had intentionally kept the story hazy because she wanted the drama to stay alive. They replayed the way she had teased that something serious had happened, how she described waking up covered in blood, how she said there were details she couldn't share yet. To certain fans, it sounded like she was keeping the door open for future interviews, maybe even a special episode or storyline. Others rejected that idea completely and insisted she was just trying to process a traumatic experience while the world poked and prodded her for more. Into this chaos stepped another twist. Clips surfaced of earlier moments in her career where she had been accused of getting too close to men who were already taken. Old interviews started floating around where people mentioned a pattern of flirting, secret meetings, and late-night calls. Nothing was ever fully proven, but the stories were enough to make some viewers say, "This is not the first time we are hearing something like this." Add that to the commentator's description of the husband rubbing her thighs under the table and the car ride kisses, and suddenly the internet felt like it was watching a rerun with higher stakes. Meanwhile, fans of the wife were having their own emotional roller coaster. Many of them had followed her journey for years, rooting for her relationship, defending her through ups and downs, and celebrating every moment she shared about family and growth. Now they were being asked to believe that while she was posting sweet captions and family pictures, there might have been quiet conversations at steak dinners and music sets that told a very different story. Some refused to believe it at all, saying the commentator was simply stirring the pot. Others admitted that even the possibility felt like a slap in the face. The husband himself stayed silent in public, at least from what people could see. There were no long posts, no emotional lives, no direct answers to the questions swirling around his name. That silence made things even worse. The less he said, the more room people had to fill in the gaps. Some argued that he was staying quiet because it was the responsible thing to do, especially if lawyers were involved. Others said silence can look like guilt, especially when paired with stories about thigh rubbing under restaurant tables and late-night rides where a woman is sitting on his lap instead of in her own seat. This is where you really see how twisted online storytelling can become. Nobody had a full picture. Everyone was operating off bits and pieces whispered on platforms, screenshots of texts, and shaky memories. Yet the public had already divided the cast into categories in their minds. The messy truth teller, the dramatic singer, the quiet husband, the blindsided wife. Each viewer decided who they believed, then built an entire emotional reaction off that choice. For some, the singer was a wounded woman whose story had been hijacked. For others, the commentator was the only one brave enough to expose what was really going on behind all the filters and stage lights. Backstage, you could almost imagine the tension between mutual acquaintances. Picture the group chats buzzing with messages like, "Did you see what he said now?" And "Why did she bring up that night again?" And "Has anyone checked on the wife?" Events where all of these people might once have mixed freely probably felt a lot more awkward now. Who sits with whom, who hugs who suddenly starts keeping their distance? All of those little details become part of the unofficial scoreboard fans keep in their heads when they're trying to figure out who is telling the truth. Then came the moment that pushed the story into an even stranger space. The commentator brought up a conversation he says happened at that same restaurant, where the husband supposedly joked about drafting a statement announcing a change in his home life. He claimed the husband had even used an online writing tool to sketch out a version, and that the singer had laughed and told him to tweak it so it sounded more personal. Whether that exchange happened exactly like that or not, just hearing it made people go back and reevaluate everything. Had there been plans in motion long before fans ever suspected anything? For the singer, that kind of detail painted her as someone willing to sit at a table with another woman's partner and help shape the words that would shift the narrative around his relationship. For the wife's supporters, it was almost too much to process. It suggested that while they were reading captions about loyalty and growth, another woman might have been involved in private discussions about press strategies and
public image. Even people who did not fully trust the commentator found themselves thinking, if even a slice of this is true, it is messy on a level we were not prepared for. Of course, there were also people calling out the audience itself. They pointed out how quickly the timeline had turned from concern about an injury to gossip about alleged intimacy. They asked why everyone was more interested in who the singer might have been kissing than in whether she had fully healed or gotten therapy after such a frightening experience. They questioned the commentator's decision to be so graphic when suggesting what might have caused her injuries, arguing that there were ways to clear his name without painting vivid pictures of what could have happened behind closed doors. Through it all, both sides seemed locked in a quiet standoff. She did not offer the clean, direct sentence he wanted, the one that said he did not harm her and did not witness anything. He refused to soften his language or walk anything back, insisting that he had already been too generous with his patients. The husband stayed quiet, at least publicly. The wife carried on with her business, perhaps choosing dignity over online brawls, or perhaps dealing with everything privately in ways we will never see. And the audience, as always, sat in the middle, refreshing their feeds and waiting for the next live, the next interview, the next slip of new information. What made this situation feel different from the usual celebrity drama is how personal it all sounded. This was not just a rumor about who liked whose pictures or who unfollowed who. This was a story involving blood, broken teeth, emergency procedures, and a woman saying she nearly lost her life. It was tied to a night of celebration that turned into a confusing nightmare, to friendships tested by silence and half-truths, and to a marriage dragged into the public square without ever getting the chance to tell its own side in full. No matter which angle you look at, there is hurt everywhere in this story. By the time people started to get exhausted from picking apart every sentence, the bigger themes started to stand out more than the specific details. Questions about how far a person should go to protect their image. Questions about how much responsibility comes with having a platform and a microphone. Questions about what it means to call something inappropriate without fully naming it, and how that single word can hang over multiple households, leaving everyone involved to deal with suspicion and side eyes whenever they walk into a room. Slowly, the whole situation turned into a kind of cautionary tale about what happens when private mess, public platforms, and half-told stories collide. People who started off laughing at the shade and the jokes found themselves pausing and asking deeper questions. How much of what we see online is carefully arranged, and how much is raw truth? How often do we as viewers get pulled into the middle of a fight we were never meant to be part of, just because somebody hit the go live button while they were hurt or angry? It stopped feeling like just gossip and started looking more like a case study in how fast real lives can be reshaped by a few unclear words and a lot of speculation. On one side, you have a woman insisting she went through something terrifying, that she woke up in a horrifying state and is still trying to put the pieces together. Even if people disagree on the details, nobody can really dismiss the fact that something serious clearly happened to her body. She has photos, doctors, procedures, and a timeline of pain to back that up. When she talks about the fear, the hospital, and the recovery, her voice shakes in a way that is hard to fake. A lot of fans cling to that part of the story and say that no matter what, the human side of her experience should come first. On the other side, you have a commentator who feels like he was unfairly turned into a shadow villain in her story. He says he did not touch her, did not see any fall, did not witness any accident, and was actually at home by the time anything went wrong. In his mind, it would have taken her less than a minute to clear his name and stop the harassment he was getting online. When she kept quiet or spoke around the issue instead of straight through it, he took that as a choice. And once he felt like she chose drama over his peace, he decided to empty the mental folder he had been holding on to about her and that husband.
Squeezed between those two sides are people who did not ask to be part of the headline. The wife, trying to keep her life together while strangers stare at her ring and wonder what is going on behind closed doors. Their children, who may one day Google their parents' names and find all of this played out in clips and captions. The extended family members, who now have to dodge questions at gatherings and pretend they are not reading every comment section. Even mutual friends, producers, and stylists end up dragged into it when fans start analyzing who still follows who and who suddenly got quiet. The legal layer only made the tension worse. Once the singer's team hinted that someone might be held responsible if the talk continued, people knew lines were being drawn behind the scenes. It is one thing to clap back in a story or a song. It is another thing to put everything under the shadow of possible court dates and depositions. Still, the commentator did not blink. If anything, he leaned harder into his stance that he was ready for whatever came next. He kept reminding everyone that he has been in front of judges before and that being threatened does not scare him away from telling what he says he saw. Some viewers see that as strength, a refusal to be bullied into silence. Others see it as reckless, a dangerous mix of anger and ego that could end up hurting everyone involved, including him. They wonder if, in trying to protect his own name, he might be crossing into territory that leaves permanent scars on the reputations and homes of other people. But he would probably argue that the damage started the moment his name was allowed to float around online as the possible cause of her injury, and that everything since then has just been him fighting back the only way he knows how. Inside all of this, there is also a conversation about honesty that keeps coming up. Not legal honesty, not sworn statements, but emotional honesty. Should she have been more transparent about who was with her that night and how close they really were? Should he have kept some of his more graphic descriptions to himself, even if he felt pushed? Should the husband have stepped forward to say something, anything, instead of letting other people talk for him? Fans keep coming back to the idea that so much of this hurt could have been avoided if everyone had been more direct and less concerned with image from the start. But then again, image is the currency of this whole world. Singers sell records off of a mix of talent and mystique. Commentators build followings by sharing sharp opinions and unfiltered reactions. Couples on reality shows keep viewers invested by presenting a version of their home life that is messy enough to be interesting but stable enough to be marketable. When you put that many performance layers on top of regular human flaws, you get exactly this kind of explosion once something goes wrong. No one wants to look weak, guilty, or foolish. So instead of simple clarity, we get carefully phrased statements, loaded interviews, and long lives full of hints and half answers. For the audience, the hardest part might be accepting that there are limits to what we can know. We can replay every clip, break down every word, and still never have the full truth about what happened in that house after the party, or what has really gone on between those people over time. We are watching shadows on a wall and trying to guess the shape of what is
really there. The only thing that is clear is the impact. Broken trust, strained friendships, a marriage placed under public scrutiny, and a woman whose trauma has turned into content that people debate instead of simply respecting. Some fans are starting to step back, saying they do not want to pick sides anymore. They feel like everyone involved has made mistakes. They wish the singer had drawn a firmer line between sharing her pain and letting others be blamed by silence. They wish the commentator had kept a few more details private instead of painting such vivid pictures of what might have happened behind closed doors. They wish the husband had been more present in the conversations, if only to give some sort of closure to the people now dragging his name into every discussion. More than anything, they wish the wife's name had never been pulled into it at all. Yet even with all that exhaustion, this story still sticks in people's minds because it touches so many raw nerves at once. It is about trusting the wrong people, or at least letting the wrong people too close. It is about the danger of mixing friendship, attraction, and fame. It is about what happens when you hint at a horror but refuse to fully explain it, leaving the internet to build its own monster for you. It is about what it costs to be linked to someone else's choices, whether you are the friend, the partner, or the person who just happened to be sitting at the wrong table on the wrong night. In the end, no live, no vlog, and no statement can truly rewind what has already happened. The singer will always have that night in her past, that moment when celebration turned into confusion and pain. The commentator will always remember the flood of accusations and the point where he decided he was done being quiet. The husband will always know what he did or did not do in those private moments, regardless of what anyone else believes. And the wife will always have to live with the fact that her name and her household ended up as talking points in a story she did not create. For everyone watching, the most honest takeaway might simply be this: we do not have all the answers. We are listening to different sides, reading between lines, and trying to make sense of overlapping stories that may never fully match. What we can do, though, is remember that behind every viral clip and every dramatic retelling, there are real people with real lives and real consequences. And as more of these situations play out in public, it becomes more important than ever to separate what has been confirmed from what is just being discussed, and to understand that in cases like this, we are not witnesses. We are just an audience looking in from the outside while the people involved figure out what they are going to do next. Before you click away, I want you to take a breath and really think about everything we just walked through. We have different sides, different memories, and a whole lot of emotion. But at the end of the day, we are on the outside looking in. We are reacting to interviews, lives, and posts that are already out there. We are not saying we know exactly what happened. We are not saying anyone is guilty of anything. We are just talking about the stories and claims that are already being discussed all over social media. That is why your voice matters here. When you listen to what Funky Dineva is saying, do you feel like he is protecting his name or going too far? When you hear Tamara talk about that scary night, do you feel she is holding back to protect herself or to protect someone else? What do you think about Mendeecees staying silent? And how do you feel about Yandi's name being pulled into this when she did not ask for any of it? Tell me in the comments whose version sounds more believable to you and why. If you were in this situation, would you have handled it the same way or completely differently? Do you think everyone involved should just sit down privately and fix this? Or is the damage already done? If you've made it this far, you are clearly one of the people who really pays attention to the details. So make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next time the internet drops another wild story like this. Your support helps the channel keep breaking down the mess piece by piece, while always reminding everyone that this is commentary, not a court verdict.